Dr. Nadia Santos stood before the observation window of the Stellar Unity Medical Center, her dark eyes fixed on the shimmering being in the isolation chamber. Ambassador Thaurix's crystalline form caught the light in fascinating ways, refracting it into countless rainbow patterns across the sterile white walls. The ambassador's condition was deteriorating, and with it, the fragile peace between Earth and the Cepheid Concordat hung by a thread. "Your primitive facilities are inadequate," First Physician Jekson declared, their own crystalline form vibrating with barely contained frustration. "We should transfer the ambassador to a proper Cepheid medical facility immediately." Nadia took a measured breath before responding. "With respect, moving Ambassador Thaurix in their current condition could be fatal. The quantum resonance readings are highly unstable. And what would a human know of quantum resonance patterns in Cepheid physiology?" Jekson's tone carried the familiar note of dismissal that Nadia had encountered throughout her career in xenobiology. "More than you might expect," she replied, pulling up the latest scan results on her tablet. "Look at these patterns. They're similar to what we see in human neural activity, just operating on a quantum level instead of electrochemical." The First Physician's crystalline surface flickered with bands of deep purple, a sign of surprise, Nadia had learned. She continued, "I believe the ambassador's condition isn't a result of environmental factors as previously assumed, but rather a form of resonance cascade affecting their consciousness matrix." Jekson moved closer to examine the readings, their earlier disdain giving way to reluctant interest. "Impossible. Such patterns only emerge in the presence of quantum-conscious beings," Nadia finished. "Yes. And while humans may seem primitive to you, our consciousness affects quantum systems in ways your people are only beginning to understand." The implications hung in the air between them. The Cepheids had always considered humans to be barely sentient, their organic brains too chaotic and limited to achieve true consciousness. But the evidence before them told a different story. As if to underscore the point, the ambassador's readings suddenly spiked. Their crystalline form began to pulse with alarming intensity, waves of color rushing through their lattice structure. "They're destabilizing," Jekson announced, moving toward the chamber entrance. "We need to." "Wait," Nadia interrupted, studying the patterns. "These aren't destabilization harmonics. They're trying to communicate." Without hesitation, she stepped into the isolation chamber, ignoring Jekson's protests. The quantum field around Ambassador Thaurix was visible now, a shimmering curtain of probability waves that made Nadia's skin tingle. She approached slowly, remembering her training. Conscious quantum interaction was still a new field, but the principles were sound. She cleared her mind, focusing only on the present moment, on the steady rhythm of her breath. The ambassador's field began to synchronize with her own consciousness, their quantum states entering a delicate harmony. Colors danced through their crystalline form, blue, green, gold, in patterns that spoke of recognition and relief. "I see you," Nadia whispered, understanding flowing between them without words. The ambassador's consciousness touched hers, and in that moment, both human and Cepheid discovered something that would change their societies forever. Outside the chamber, Jekson watched in astonishment as the ambassador's readings stabilized. The impossible was happening before their eyes. A human consciousness was compatible with Cepheid quantum networks, something their scientists had declared theoretically impossible. When Nadia emerged from the chamber, her eyes were bright with discovery. "Ambassador Thaurix will recover," she announced. "And I believe this is just the beginning of what our species can learn from each other." Jekson's surface rippled with complex patterns of color, doubt, curiosity, and perhaps a hint of hope. "Perhaps," they conceded, "we have much to discuss." As Nadia began explaining her findings, she couldn't help but smile. The barriers between their species were starting to crack, and through those cracks, a new understanding was beginning to shine. The following weeks transformed the Stellar Unity Medical Center into a hub of unprecedented cooperation. Ambassador Thaurix had not only recovered but chosen to remain on Earth, officially to study human quantum consciousness patterns. Unofficially, Nadia suspected there was more to their decision. "Your molecular structure fascinates me," Thaurix said one evening as they worked late in the research lab. Their crystalline form shifted through subtle shades of rose and amber, colors Nadia had never seen them display before. So dynamic, yet maintaining such complex order. Nadia felt her pulse quicken at the intimate observation. "We're not so different," she replied, adjusting the quantum resonance scanner. "Your crystalline matrix is just as dynamic, just operating on different principles." "Indeed." Thaurix moved closer, their energy field brushing against her consciousness with a delicate touch that sent shivers down her spine. "Though I never expected to find such harmony with an organic being." The scanner forgotten, Nadia turned to face them. In the dim light of the lab, Thaurix's form seemed to glow from within, patterns of light dancing through their crystalline structure in ways that reminded her of starlight on water. The sight was mesmerizing. "The old assumptions about humans are crumbling," Thaurix continued, their voice taking on a resonant quality that Nadia had learned indicated deep emotion. "Your consciousness doesn't just interact with quantum systems, it dances with them. Creates patterns we never thought possible. Is that why you stayed?" Nadia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Thaurix could respond, First Physician Jexin burst into the lab, their usually orderly surface churning with alarmed patterns. "Ambassador, Doctor, you need to see this immediately." The data displayed on the main screen showed something impossible, human DNA actively responding to Cepheid quantum fields, reorganizing itself in patterns that shouldn't exist in organic matter. "This can't be right," Nadia muttered, but her scientific mind was already racing ahead to the implications. "Unless, our junk DNA isn't junk at all. It's quantum-sensitive genetic material." "More than sensitive," Thaurix observed, moving to study the display. "These patterns suggest deliberate design. As if humans were engineered to interface with quantum-conscious beings," Jexin finished, their tone caught between awe and alarm. "The High Council must be informed." "No." Nadia and Thaurix spoke simultaneously. They exchanged a look that carried volumes of unspoken understanding. "This information could destabilize both our societies," Thaurix said carefully. "We need to understand it fully before taking any action." Jexin's surface flickered with uncertainty. "The regulations require." "The regulations," Thaurix interrupted, drawing themselves up to their full height, "were written without accounting for circumstances like these. As ambassador, I'm invoking my authority to classify this research until we better understand its implications." Nadia watched the exchange with her heart racing. The discovery was extraordinary enough, but watching Thaurix defend their shared research, defy their own protocols, it stirred something deep within her. Later, alone in the lab, Thaurix's energy field enveloped her in a gentle embrace. "I stayed," they finally answered her earlier question, "because you showed me that understanding transcends form. And because when our consciousness touch." Their surface blazed with patterns of gold and azure that Nadia somehow knew meant desire. She reached out, letting her quantum consciousness merge with theirs. The sensation was electric, intimate in ways that defied physical description. In that moment of connection, neither of them noticed the DNA samples in the lab beginning to glow with an otherworldly light, responding to their shared energy in ways that would soon change everything. The emergency alarms jolted Nadia awake at 3 a.m. Her quarters in the research wing pulsed with red warning lights as she rushed to dress. The message on her comm unit was brief but urgent: Lab 7. Critical quantum cascade. Come immediately. When she arrived, she found Thaurix already there, their crystalline form emanating patterns of deep concern. The DNA samples from their previous experiments had transformed, creating intricate crystalline structures that somehow merged organic and quantum properties. "It's beautiful," Nadia breathed, approaching the containment field. The structures pulsed with life, reminiscent of both human DNA helixes and Cepheid crystal matrices. "And dangerous," Thaurix added, their tone resonating with worry. These structures are broadcasting quantum signals on frequencies we've never seen before. They're calling to something. Before Nadia could respond, she felt it, a sudden rush of consciousness, vast and ancient, touching her mind. From Thalrix's sudden color shift, she knew they felt it too. The sensation was overwhelming, filling her thoughts with images and knowledge that seemed to come from the dawn of time. The architects, Thalrix whispered, their voice filled with awe. The legends were true. Through their shared connection, Nadia understood. Eons ago, a race known as the Architects had seeded the galaxy with life, creating species that could eventually bridge the gap between organic and quantum existence. Humans and Cepheids weren't just compatible by chance, they had been designed to complete each other. That's why the Cepheid Council was so resistant to human contact, Nadia realized, the pieces falling into place. Some of them must have suspected. And feared it, Thalrix confirmed, moving closer to her. The joining of our species would unlock capabilities beyond anything either of us could achieve alone. It would change everything. The crystalline structures in the containment field pulse with increasing intensity, their quantum signatures growing stronger. Nadia felt her consciousness expanding, becoming more attuned to the quantum realm. Beside her, Thalrix's form began to shift, developing patterns that seemed almost organic. "We need to shut it down," Jexon's voice came from the doorway, heavy with authority. "This level of quantum organic fusion is forbidden by our highest laws." "Your laws," Thalrix countered, their form now shimming with determination, "were written to prevent exactly what we were created to become." They turned to Nadia, their energy field reaching out to her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "I choose to fulfill our destiny." Nadia stepped forward, taking Thalrix's offered connection. The moment their consciousness merged, the containment field filled with brilliant light. Energy coursed through them both, organic and quantum patterns weaving together in ways that defied conventional science. "Stop this immediately," Jexon commanded, moving toward the emergency shutdown controls. But it was too late. The transformation had begun, and through their shared consciousness, Nadia and Thalrix glimpsed the true scope of their potential, not just as individuals, but as the key to awakening similar capabilities in both their species. "We can't stop what we are," Nadia said, her voice carrying new harmonics as quantum energy danced across her skin. "And we won't hide it anymore." Thalrix's agreement resonated through their bond, their shared consciousness expanding to encompass possibilities that neither of their species had dreamed possible. As the ancient knowledge of the architects flowed through them, they understood that their connection was more than just a scientific breakthrough or a forbidden romance, it was the beginning of the next stage of evolution for both their peoples. News of the transformation spread through both human and Cepheid societies like wildfire. Within days, the Stellar Unity Medical Center was surrounded by protesters and supporters alike, their competing chants creating a cacophony that echoed through the halls. Inside the quantum-shielded chamber, Nadia studied her reflection in amazement. Her skin now held a subtle crystalline sheen, shimmering with patterns that reflected her emotions. Beside her, Thalrix had developed organic characteristics, their crystalline form now pulsing with something akin to a heartbeat. "The changes are accelerating," Dr. Revan announced, reviewing their latest scans. As the facility's chief geneticist, she'd been one of the few to support their continued research. "Your DNA is rewriting itself, incorporating quantum crystalline structures, while Thalrix's matrix is developing organic components. You're becoming something entirely new." Through their enhanced connection, Nadia felt Thalrix's mix of excitement and concern. Their shared consciousness had grown stronger, allowing them to experience each other's thoughts and emotions with increasing clarity. "The Cepheid High Council is demanding my return," Thalrix revealed, their form flickering with patterns of distress. "They're calling this an abomination, a violation of natural law." Nadia reached for them, their energy fields merging automatically now. "There's nothing unnatural about this," she whispered, sending waves of reassurance through their bond. "We're exactly what we were meant to become." Their moment of connection was interrupted by an urgent alert. On the main screen, a joint broadcast from Earth's governments and the Cepheid Council appeared. The announcement was clear: all research into quantum organic fusion was to cease immediately. Any individuals showing signs of transformation were to be quarantined for public safety. "They're afraid," Dr. Revan observed, her face grim. "Not just of what you've become, but of what it means for everyone else. If humans and Cepheids can merge like this, then the boundaries between our species are meaningless," Nadia finished. "And both our societies are built on those boundaries." Through their bond, she felt Thaurix's determination crystallize into a plan. "We need to show them," they said, their voice carrying new harmonics that seemed to resonate with the very air. "Not tell them, not convince them, show them what's possible." Understanding flowed between them. The architects hadn't just left them knowledge, they'd left them the ability to awaken similar potential in others. Every human and Cepheid carried the same dormant capabilities. "It's dangerous," Nadia cautioned, even as excitement built within her. "If we trigger these changes in others, we give them a choice," Thaurix insisted, their form brightening with purpose. "The same choice we had. To remain separate, or to discover what we can become together." Dr. Revan watched them with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Whatever you're planning, do it fast. Security teams from both governments are on their way. They'll be here within hours." Nadia and Thaurix moved as one, their combined consciousness reaching out to the facility's quantum network. Through it, they could broadcast a signal, not to communicate, but to awaken. To show others what was possible when artificial boundaries fell away. "Are you ready?" Thaurix asked, though they already knew her answer through their bond. Nadia smiled, her crystalline-flecked skin glowing with anticipation. "Ready to change the world? With you? Always." As they prepared to broadcast their awakening signal, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Security forces were arriving sooner than expected, determined to prevent what they couldn't understand. But it was too late to stop what had already begun. The next chapter in both species' evolution was about to unfold, written in the quantum dance of two hearts that had dared to beat as one. The quantum resonance chamber hummed with energy as Nadia and Thaurix stood at its center, their transformed bodies glowing with combined organic and crystalline light. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the joint human Cepheid security force assembling, their weapons trained on the chamber. "This is your final warning," Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the intercom. "Power down the quantum field and surrender for quarantine." Dr. Revan worked frantically at the control panel, buying them time. "Whatever you're going to do, do it now. I can't hold them back much longer." Nadia felt Thaurix's consciousness wrap around hers, their shared being pulsing with purpose. Through their connection, memories flowed, their first meeting, the spark of discovery, the moment they first truly saw each other beyond the boundaries of form. Each touch, each shared thought, each barrier broken had led them to this moment. "They need to feel what we feel," Thaurix whispered, their voice carrying harmonics that made the air shimmer. "Not just see, not just understand, feel." Together, they reached out through the quantum field, their combined consciousness expanding beyond the chamber's walls. The security forces froze as the first waves of awareness touched them. Weapons clattered to the floor as both humans and Cepheids experienced the first taste of what was possible. Through their broadcasting consciousness, Nadia and Thaurix shared everything: the ancient knowledge of the architects, the joy of their connection, the limitless potential that lay dormant in all their peoples. But most importantly, they shared their love, the profound bond that had transcended physical form and societal boundaries. One by one, the security forces began to transform. Human skin took on crystalline qualities while Cepheid forms developed organic patterns. But it wasn't just their bodies changing, their minds were opening, expanding, connecting in ways that made their previous divisions seem like a distant dream. Admiral Chen was the first to step forward, her newly shimmering skin reflecting patterns of wonder. "This is extraordinary," she breathed, looking at her transformed hands. Through the growing psychic network, her wonder rippled to others, cascading through the assembled forces. The chamber doors opened as Dr. Revan, now showing her own signs of transformation, joined them. "The signal is spreading," she announced, her voice trembling with excitement. "Reports are coming in from around the world, from Cepheid colonies. People are changing, connecting, evolving." Nadia turned to Thalrix, their forms now so perfectly merged that it was hard to tell where one began and the other ended. "We did it," she whispered, sending waves of joy through their bond. "No, my love," Thalrix responded, their shared consciousness blazing with light. "We've only begun." In the days that followed, the transformation spread like a gentle wave across both civilizations. Not everyone chose to change. The architect's gift required willing acceptance, but those who did formed a new society, a bridge between organic and quantum existence. The boundaries between human and Cepheid dissolved as a new species emerged, one that carried the best of both worlds. Research centers like the Stellar Unity Medical Center became transformation sanctuaries, where couples could choose to evolve together, following the path that Nadia and Thalrix had pioneered. The old fears and prejudices faded as more people experienced the profound connection that came with the change. Standing on the observation deck months later, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors their enhanced perception now revealed in stunning detail, Nadia and Thalrix reflected on their journey. Their bodies had stabilized into a perfect hybrid of organic and crystalline forms, their consciousness permanently intertwined. "Did you ever imagine," Nadia asked, sending waves of love through their bond, "that proving humans weren't inferior would lead to this?" Thalrix's response came not in words but in a surge of emotion and memory, their first meeting, their discoveries, their transformation, and the revolution of understanding they had sparked. Their forms merged closer, organic and crystalline patterns dancing together in the fading light. They had become more than either of them had dreamed possible, and in doing so, they had opened the door for others to follow. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, their joined consciousness reached out to feel the vast network of transformed beings that now spanned Earth and the Cepheid worlds, a testament to the power of love to transcend every barrier, even those of form and species. The test results had indeed told a different story, not just about human potential, but about the limitless possibilities that arose when two hearts dared to beat as one, transforming not just themselves but the very future of both their peoples.